She is a female pimp. That is what she is. When you listen to how she talks, you'll begin to pick up on it. When she referred to Krishan as one of her girls, she said Blueface had her first, but then I picked her up in my car, showed her around, put some money in her pocket. That's pimp talk.
Wow.
If you know anything about pimps in general, they are very, very smart. They are also very manipulative, and they are really good at gaining control over other people. Not just women, but also men. And they are also really good at controlling situations, and they know how to outsmart people. And a lot of people were getting frustrated because they felt like Natalie wasn't answering questions. But she was saying a lot without having to say much at all. So one of the most talked about questions that Cam asked her was, why should someone take a baddie seriously? Now, Cam is notorious for doing this, asking an insulting question, and then when he doesn't like the answer, rephrasing the question to hope to get a better answer that validates him or validates his thoughts.
Complete narcissist. Cam Newton is a complete narcissist, allegedly.
About that person or whatever it is that they're talking about. Now, people claim they didn't like her answer, but her answer was the best answer and a very solid answer. He asked her that question, and Natalie said, because we pay the bills. We get money. Like, how much more serious does it get than that? Now, remember, you are talking to a pimp. You are talking to a boss. You're talking to a madam. They all about the money. They don't really care about much of anything else. They care about how much money is coming in. Why would somebody take me seriously? Because I got money. And when you're in any business, they don't take you seriously unless you can pay to play, unless you got money to make things move. She answered the question directly and correctly. People should take baddies seriously because we bringing in the dough, and money is what makes things move. Hello. Now, Cam did not like that answer because Cam didn't care about her money. He wanted her to prove her value and her worth to.
Because Cam feels as though if a woman only bringing something to the table, like these high power men or whatever you want to call them, they don't want certain stuff brought to the table. I feel like they don't want a woman of power. I feel like they don't want a woman with money. They cool with a woman they can just run over. And yeah.
Him and his audience, who probably thought of her the same way he thought of her. He then rephrases the question and says, no, why should a man take a baddie seriously? And she gives him the same answer, because we bring in the dough, we pay the bills. He then rephrases it again and tries to say, well, what do you bring to the table? Like, what qualities, like characteristics? And she's like, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to dance around and say whatever, because I just told you we don't care about nothing else. We care about the money. You asked about characteristics and qualities. Boy, we care about the money. Don't nobody care about character and quality when you got money. That's why she was responding in that way.
And women don't give a damn when they got money. Women don't give a damn.
He doesn't understand who he's talking to. He's looking at her as a woman that's just like a low grade celebrity, not understanding that she's a whole madam who really has connects and be making stuff move in the industry. Now, the next question everybody wants to get the answer to is whether or not she's cheated on her husband before. Now, Natalie laughed and said, oh, wait, slow down, Cam, because he immediately was going in for the kill, when I think they weren't even talking about that before. Her response was that baddies don't cheat. We don't need to. Now, some people are saying that she was lying, that she was deflecting, that she didn't want to answer the question. She did answer the question. She said baddies don't cheat. I don't have to. Now, some people can look at that and say, oh, she's lying. She just don't want to answer the question directly. But because she's a madam, she's practically saying like, hey, we have an arrangement. I don't have to cheat on him. We have an understanding. I bring home the bread. I bring home the money. He don't.
Basically. And I think she lets her husband do his thing, to be honest. I think they both be doing their thing.
Ask no questions. Or he is understanding of what I do for a living. It's no different than a woman who works in a strip club. A woman can work in a strip club and then she can have a husband or a boyfriend at home. And then some people be like, do your man know that you work in a strip club? And she be like, yeah, he don't care. I'm bringing the money home. He don't ask me questions. He know what it is. And also, because she's a narcissist, somebody can also interpret this and say she could be sleeping and doing whatever she wants to make sure the money comes and the bills are paid. But if he's being manipulated, then that means he's been isolated, and the only thing he is confined to is the bubble that he has with his daughter. And so he don't really know what's going on. He don't ask questions because he enjoys the life he lives. Now, we see this all the time in movies where you'll have a man who's like an Italian mob boss, and he does all these treacherous things to bring home the money, and different from her outside life. When she comes home, it's none of that, because she doesn't want to expose her family to what she's doing. And people are kind of like, don't you think that's hypocritical? Do you not understand who you're talking to? She does not care about character, morality, all that stuff. She cares about the money.
This girl is spitting nothing but facts.
Also made it very clear that Natalie Nunn is a character that she plays for television, and that who she is off the camera, when it comes to Zeus Network, is not who she is at home. And that she also wants the generation that comes up after her to do better. Like, don't do what she's doing. Cam is like, that's so hypocritical. But again, he doesn't know who he's talking to. Now, a woman doesn't become a madam just
he's hypocritical. Come on now.
Because she decides to one day she wants to be a madam. Madams usually start off being pimped out first. That means at some point in time, if all that I'm saying is correct, that means Natalie Nunn had to answer to a man who probably was doing what she's doing to other women to her. And she got dragged into that lifestyle, and now she's just like a madam in the game. And instead of being controlled, she is now the person who's doing the controlling. During this interview, you also want to pay attention to Natalie's body language and the signals that she's sending Cam, and he's just not picking up on it. There were also many times throughout the interview where Natalie was low-key threatening Cam. She was letting him know, like, you don't know what it is. But she was being real passive-aggressive with it. There was a point in the interview where she was fidgeting with her bracelet. And she says, do you want to know the first thing that came to my mind, or do you want to know something else? That was her giving him a warning. That was a warning because she tried to keep it cute. There was also another part of the show where she was making direct eye contact with Cam, like glazing into his soul. And he could not maintain that contact. He kept looking away from her. He kept looking straight up ahead, not listening to her when she's talking. Of course, there was also...
It don't matter what anybody think about Natalie. She's a boss. She is. So, a nigga like Cam Newton... he can't handle that. He can't handle it.
The part in the interview where she asked him, have you even watched Baddies? And he's like, no. Trying to see if he even did his research, because now she's picking up like, you ain't even did your research. You don't even know who's sitting across from you. So because you weren't prepared, I'm going to interview you now. I'm hijacking this thing because you clearly don't know what you're doing. And you tried to play in my face. He was trying to bait her, rage bait her, gaslight her, and ask her a bunch of degrading questions continuously. I think it's also important to understand that someone like Natalie Nunn does not respect you just because you have a show. Natalie respects money and power. And she realized like Cam may have...
She don't respect money and power though, for real.
Money, but he don't have no...
Well, maybe money, but not somebody else's money or power.
His masculinity is fragile and it's not intact. I could eat him for lunch. And she began to chip away, pick away at his masculinity, his lifestyle, and dish back at him everything he was trying to dish onto her. She held up a big old mirror. Like she literally doesn't have to do anything. Just her being present brings in attention for him. Natalie's like, I don't really know who this man is. I only know him because one of my girls are dating him. That gives him exposure, gives him a name to a whole new audience of people who did not know him before. Cam is not familiar with the game, but she's answering all the questions in a way that somebody like her would answer them. Cam just doesn't understand, and the majority of the people just didn't understand what she was putting out, which is why when she followed up, she said, go back and study that interview because I said a lot without saying it all. Now, there were some things that she just didn't answer because she's like, I'm not going to answer that. That was a dumb question. Because Cam kept trying to ask the wrong question. She's like, I'm really waiting for you to ask me a good question and you're just not asking me anything. And you can tell that Cam was visibly irritated and that he was bothered and that he was upset. Even she tried to say, give me a kiss, I'm gonna leave. He was like, no. She's like, all right, cool, I'm out of here. I know you don't respect me. I know you don't like what I do, but I'm gonna take your hat. I'm gonna take this look and I'm out. Natalie did what was very on brand for her to do. And she also answered a lot of his questions the way
this interview sounded like it was good as hell.
That she was supposed to. He just didn't like the answer. Y'all just didn't like what she was saying. And you probably don't understand who she is. Natalie is very smart. She went to USC. She's been in this entertainment.
I'm gonna say this too, CJ. Cam be bothered as fuck. He be very, very bothered, especially by a woman that know a little something, that got a little something. He don't like them conversations.
The industry for a very long time. Now, again, do not take me making this video as a sign of respect for her. I do not like Natalie Nunn. I don't like what she does. I think she exploits women. I think